to the famous song. Busking outside this stadium from the age of 12, he used to turn down money, but in the end, people insisted on giving him money. Do you know what he did? He decided to donate it all to charities. Absolutely sensational story. Sam Fender spotted him, another Geordie, another Newcastle fan, got in touch with him, and Joe played with Sam at Sam's gig at this stadium last summer, aged 15. And so now young Joe is playing on the pitch in front of 50-odd thousand, and he is one of them. He's a massive Newcastle United fan who comes to games. Let that be a lesson to all teenagers out there, Dean Ashton.
Exactly. Practice. Yes, it's boring. Practice.
I tell you what, your fretwork is not going to get any better on the guitar unless you practice.
He is absolutely magnificent. And stylistically, he's channeling his inner Bill Wyman, standing there, hardly moving, and letting the more illustrious people at St James's Park, so-called illustrious people, do their work. But what a musician he is.
It's incredible. I mean, and what must be going through his body right now, he's either incredibly calm and relaxed or absolutely bricking it right now. But he's nailed it. Sensational. Absolutely sensational. Joe Birtley, 16 years old, local hero on the guitar, and he's now a local hero as well. Stunning stuff. That's pre-match entertainment right there. More on Newcastle on the TalkSport network. TalkSport's resident Toon fans, Ollie Klink and Jack Cunningham, bringing you the latest inside the Toon tomorrow, reflecting on this game. Watch out for that on the TalkSport Newcastle YouTube channel as the teams emerge from the tunnel below us. What a noise at St James Park. They know how to build it up here, and they've had plenty of practice for these semi-final nights. Now tomorrow night it's the first leg of the other semi. Chelsea taking on Arsenal, live on TalkSport from Stamford Bridge from 7 p.m. Natalie Sawyer will be in charge for that one on TalkSport at Stamford Bridge. First leg of the first semi is tonight. Newcastle and Man City can score, they can concede, they can entertain, and they care about the Carabao Cup. Don't take your ears off this one at one of the most iconic grounds in the country, in front of as passionate and noisy a fan base as you will find anywhere. Live on TalkSport, it's Newcastle against Manchester City with former Cup finalist Dean Ashton alongside your commentator on TalkSport, Jim Proudfoot.
Adrian, thank you, and a very good evening to you. And in a week that's illustrated just how difficult it can be to defend a cup, Newcastle continue their quest. Having waited 70 years for a domestic honour, it would be some achievement to go back-to-back, the domain of very few. In fact, only two clubs have managed it in the League Cup over the last 35 years. One of them, Manchester City, whose first silverware under Pep came in this competition. That first League Cup in his reign quickly became 2, then 3 and 4, an extraordinary dominance in the latter part of the last decade. But it was that first success after a trophyless season that was the precursor to everything that followed. And now, as Pep approaches the 10th anniversary of his appointment, the City side seek that same catalyst after another rare fallow campaign. This is how the two sides line up. Manchester City in their customary light blue with white shorts, and Newcastle in the famous black and white. And the Geordies have Pope in goal, Miley, Chow, Botman and Hall, Ramsey, Bruno and Joelinton, Jacob Murphy, Wissa and Gordon for City, Trafford, Nunes, Kusanov, Alain and Ake, Bernardo Silva and O'Reilly, Doku, Foden, Semenyo and Haaland. And on the benches, for the Toon Army, Ramsdale, Trippier, Tonali, Barnes and Alanga, Moldemada, Willock, Alex Murphy and Neve. For City, it's Donnarumma, Reinders, Cherki, Rodri and Aït-Nouri, McAdoo, Mikasa, Lewis and Gray. Both sides in a huddle. Newcastle break away from theirs first. What's a par score for Newcastle tonight? Have they got to win this first leg?
Yeah, I think they do. I think their away form is that poor, and certainly recent history at the Etihad doesn't make good reading for Newcastle fans. So I think tonight feels absolutely huge for them, and I think City will have that in their minds. And actually, it'll be interesting to see how Manchester City approach this game.
Well, the referee tonight is Chris Kavanagh. And both sides have come to order in formation. It will be City kicking from left to right who will get us underway. Newcastle have never lost a League Cup semi-final, including 12 months ago when they breezed past the side second in the table, winning both home and away. Now they face second place Manchester City, fresh from equalling their biggest ever victory, but whose last domestic defeat was here on Tyneside. Who'll manoeuvre themselves into a position of strength in this first leg. City, as I mentioned, kicking from left to right towards the Gallagher end, down the hill in the first 45 minutes. First touch of the night with Phil Foden, who goes back for James Trafford, and he launches it long, high towards the edge of the penalty area at the other end, where Botman is there to knock it away. Chow turning it over the top. Whistle will chase that, but it's easily guarded by Kusanov. Back to his goalkeeper, James Trafford. Out from him to Elaine, who puts his right foot through the ball, turned over the shoulder of Botman, away from Haaland. Chow will come and mop up and lay it back for his goalkeeper, Nick Pope, whose clearance out towards the far touchline drops onto the head of Nathan Ake. Joelinton in there beats Foden in the midfield challenge. Haaland can flick it on. Foden able to turn under pressure from Bruno Guimaraes. Cleared well by Miley, wearing 67 and playing it right back again today. And he might be for a while in the continued absence of Tino Livramento. He's going to be out for a couple of months with that hamstring problem. And the ball out of play for a throw, which will be taken by Miley in the right back position for Newcastle. And you and I taking in the game tonight with the former FA Cup final goal scorer, Dean Ashton.
And I think surely that side of the pitch, that far side, as Haaland's definitely not fouled, that far side when you've got Doku against Miley, a young player, midfield player, well, I'll tell you what, he's going to have a real test when he gets faced up with Doku, just because of the acceleration, the change of direction that he'll have to deal with. Can he handle it?
Yeah, Doku's starting on the left, Semenyo on the right. The ball with Gordon. He'll work it back inside his own half for Sven Botman, who's just signed that new extended deal, which to everybody's delight here. Now Chow has had a fantastic start to his Newcastle career. Through the midfield for Ramsey, preferred to Tonali in the midfield three with Bruno Guimaraes and Joelinton. He's got it again, Ramsey, under pressure, just got caught by Bernardo Silva to win a free kick about 10 yards outside his own penalty area. It's still 0-0 in the very early stages. Played almost 2 minutes here at St James's Park. And a reminder that the first leg of the other semi-final is Arsenal and Chelsea go head-to-head tomorrow, live on TalkSport. Again, build-ups at 7 for an 8 o'clock kickoff. Ake mopping up, goes back to his goalkeeper. Trafford very deliberately taking a couple of touches, finding Kusanov, who's chipped into the centre circle where Botman comes to make life difficult for Haaland. City striking Viking, winning it in the air, but was put under pressure. He guided it back towards Bernardo Silva, and he's now been caught by Ramsey. It's going to be a good battle between those two, both having a little niggle in the early stages at the other's expense.
Well, it's something they'll look for, Newcastle, is to, when that ball gets bounced into midfield, O'Reilly, Bernardo Silva and Foden in particular, they'll look to be snapping in, winning the ball, and then where they've hurt City in the past is that electric pace that Newcastle have on the counter-attack.
Yeah, beat City 2-1 earlier this season, back in November. A couple of goals from Harvey Barnes, who's waiting in the wings again today. Fresh from scoring 4 in his last 2 matches. It was Ruben Dias that scored the City goal. Not featuring this evening. Here's Nunes down the City right, wins the throw off Joelinton. Right in front of us, and he'll just go and retrieve the yellow ball from about a foot or so away from the white touchline. Dries it on the inside of his light blue shirt. Takes a throw back for Kusanov. Alain peels away and offers himself as the passing angle. Manchester City's number 68, England under-21 international, back for another England under-21 international, James Trafford. A slightly aimless ball forward from him, painting by numbers a little bit, just hoofing it through the middle. Goes through towards Nick Pope. Lewis Hall blonde-haired fullback for Newcastle, taking over to Guimaraes on the edge of the D. Works the ball down for the bleached-haired Joe Linton, riding a challenge of Kusanov. He's found Gordon. Now he can work it out for Jacob Murphy. First time ball in. Wissa onside, should have scored. Fires it over the bar.
Well, I tell you what, it's a magnificent first-time cross from Jacob Murphy. Brilliant play by Joe Linton. Gordon with the switch. But Murphy just had his head up straight away. He saw Wissa, who was free at the back post, and outnumbered Manchester City 3-2 at the back. But that ball was so good. He just curled it around Ake into Vissa's path. He took a decent first touch. It's a terrible left-footed effort as it kind of bobbled up, properly steered it over. There was no real composure, like he didn't trust his weak foot.
He's only got a couple of goals so far since his move from Brentford, which obviously has been drastically curtailed by injury, but he has played 10 games for the Geordies before tonight. He's got a good record against Manchester City. In his Brentford days, he scored in his last 2 games against Pep's men. Pep had turned away and there was a sharp exhalation of breath. He sensed that his team had got away with one there. Newcastle play forward here for Joe Linton. Joe Linton back towards Sven Botman. As it came back Joe Linton's way again, he just got caught by Nunes, and Foden can pick up loose possession. First chance for Semenyo on the Manchester City right, turning it onto his left foot. The odd that boo from Newcastle supporters for Semenyo when he was in possession there. Back from Foden, Kusanov, now a lane. Nathan Ake, Jeremy Doku's got it on the Manchester City left. They've switched it very quickly from the right out to the left flank. Back for Ake again, who will check 10 yards away from the edge of the box. He goes deeper. Alain, Kusanov, the more thickly set of the 2 Manchester City centre-halves. Now the youngster Alain. Had a good spell at Watford on loan the first half of this season. Ake. Newcastle just backing off very deferentially. Murphy faced up by Doku. Doku getting it in towards the near post where Chow stretched out a right leg to get it away. Comes back out for Doku, who feeds it deeper for O'Reilly, who's playing a more orthodox central midfield role today. Now Kusanov. Semenyo, bottom right corner of the penalty area. Trying to work it onto his left again, shown inside by Anthony Gordon. Into traffic, finds Alain to O'Reilly. Alain again. Hasn't put a foot wrong so far, the youngster. Kusanov with an aerial pass, it's a beauty. Brought down on the right calf of Jeremy Doku, and now he's got an opportunity to try and run at Miley. Gets to the byline, pulls it back to the edge of the 6-yard box, and Chow's there again.
That's a worry. That's certainly a worry. Lewis Miley on that far side, faced up by Doku. 1v1 for the first time. Well, he just breezed past him. It was like he stood still. How quick Doku went past Miley there. Couldn't pick out a sky blue shirt, but that's a warning signs, I would say, for Eddie Howe.
And they'll come again with Doku. City taking the game to Newcastle in these early stages. He's got the beating of Miley, worked it inside the penalty area, pulled back, Haaland stretch, couldn't quite get the touch, and Gordon happy to hammer it away. All Manchester City since Wissa missed that really good opportunity to give Newcastle the lead.
And again, Jeremy Doku, too good for Miley. Means that Jacob Murphy has to go out to try and double up, doesn't then follow the run of Bernardo Silva, who flashes it across. He doesn't look, he's just hoping someone's there, but only Haaland is there. There needs to be more.
Semenyo, the player in that situation that Pep would be hoping would be gambling and trying to make that far post run. Ball goes out of play for what's been given as a Newcastle throw by the assistant referee Dan Cook right in front of us. I think the City players thought it should have gone the other way. A goal for Harrogate at Stockport in the EFL trophy. Latest scores elsewhere. Bolton against Port Vale still 0. Bristol Rovers 2, Plymouth 2. Doncaster 1, Fleetwood 0. Huddersfield 2, Rotherham 0. Luton 1, Swindon 1. And we'll keep you updated with all the goals as they go in. 9 minutes gone here, 0-0. Newcastle with a great chance, which Wissa put over the bar into the Leazes end. Manchester City with all the possession since, and they'll bring it forward with Kusanov. Over the halfway line, and then retraces his steps slightly and going back for Max Alain, the son, as I know you're aware by now, of the former England cricketer Mark Alain. through the midfield towards O'Reilly. Left-footed, clipped out to the City left. Doku, 5 yards in from the left-hand touchline. Murphy doubling up in front of Miley has done well. Just took a couple of steps back, committed himself, one possession back. Ramsey then turning it back for Chow, which piqued the interest of Foden. He was very nearly in there. Newcastle's hurried clearance only drops for Kusanov in the midfield. And then played back by Nunes. O'Reilly, Newcastle playing well out of possession, pushing Manchester City back, and Alain will go back for his goalkeeper. Trafford a little bit nervous taking a touch and then firing it into the vacated midfield area, but it bypassed Semenyo and goes straight through to Nick Pope.
Yeah, and Pep Guardiola just giving a very visual clap towards James Trafford. I think that's more just to give him confidence. I don't think he was happy. He actually turned away when he first just lumped that forwards. It was that first touch from James Trafford as Kusanov just lets it run out. I think he felt it was a foul.
Felt it was a foul. I think he felt sure that the decision was definitely going to be given his way, and he flicked the ball with his left foot behind his right on the touchline, out, and the referee said throw it in Newcastle. And they've got another one here. No, they haven't. It's come off Hall, and it will be a throw that will be taken on the Manchester City right. 10 minutes in, Newcastle 0, Manchester City 0. City back in Premier League action at the weekend. It is the Manchester derby against Michael Carrick's Manchester United. His appointment confirmed within the last 45 minutes, as we've been taking in for 48 hours on Talk Sport. And it's a 12:30 kickoff. It is live and exclusive to national radio on Talk Sport, Saturday lunchtime. The Manchester derby. Carrick, who played in 23 Manchester derbies, including scoring in a League Cup semi-final. That's 16 years ago. United won that one. City hoping to win this one. Started well. Ake back behind square for a lane. For the Kusanov. Semenyo's got in level with the edge of the Newcastle penalty area. Always looking just to drop inside whenever he's got it. Hasn't tried to take on Gordon on the outside once yet. Gordon's defended very diligently in front of Lewis Hall. Has to do so again. And Semenyo now will check and try and go past him. He can't get past him. He's retained possession though. Plays it back for Kusanov to O'Reilly and out to Ake. Left-footed ball clipped in. Too high for Nunes, who made the run. Is it brushed off a Newcastle player? It has. Out for a corner, the first of the night.
Yeah, they're penned in at the moment, Newcastle. I don't think they're too worried about that. I think at times they will anyway, just to try and frustrate Manchester City and deny that space for Phil Foden in particular and Haaland. So they're having to switch it quickly without much joy on this right-hand side for Semenyo so far.
That's Dean Ashton here at St James Park. And Newcastle upon time. 0-0. Now we played 13 minutes. Manchester City with the first corner. Swept in left-footed by Foden. Bit of late whip on that, but it was easily headed away at the near post by Miley. Headed back down. Foden's touch a little bit heavy. He's done really well to rescue it from Bruno Guimaraes. Works it through the midfield. It hit Wissa on the arm. Ake then side foots it forward as the loose ball breaks his way. It'll be picked up by Jeremy Doku. Right-footed ball inside the 6-yard box off Chow's head. Haaland the first to react. He's barrelled into his man. Has pushed Gordon down and given Newcastle United a free kick.
I've got to say, it's been a brilliant start from Manchester City. I know Newcastle have been penned back, but I think that's because of the quality in possession that Manchester City have shown. So crisp, using this delicious surface just to zip the ball along to each other. First touch has been excellent from everyone in sky blue. It's what you need when you come to a place like this, just to try and quieten things down and settle the game into your pace.
Possession 63-37 in Manchester City's favour. They haven't had an opportunity as yet. Just the one so far, which came Wissa's way, that he missed the target. And more goals in the EFL Trophy. Swindon now leading 2-1 at Luton, and Plymouth have scored twice in quick succession to lead 3-2 at Bristol Rovers. They've turned it around there. 0-0 between Newcastle and Manchester City. The Geordies unbeaten here in 13, of which they've won 10 in League and Cup. Very good home record this season, as you would expect. In fact, looking for their 13th home win of the campaign already tonight. About in the second week of January, that. Botman getting the ball through the midfield. Alain dealing with Wissa. Loose ball won by O'Reilly. As he pokes it forward, it falls straight to Bruno Guimaraes, down towards Anthony Gordon. Gordon with the opportunity just to saunter up the left-hand touchline, try and inject a little bit of tempo. Good ball in. Joelinton with a little flick header that's gone well wide. But Newcastle again, when they push forward on the counter, even if City can get bodies back as they did there's still a potency from Newcastle in that kind of situation.
Yes, exactly what they want, and they need to do things quickly, and when they have done, they've already had a little bit of joy. Gordon excellent there, a couple of stabs with the right foot as if he's going to step, and then he did, delivered early. Joelinton back to the goal. Very, very difficult to gain the purchase from that cross from close to the 18-yard line.
Goal kick to Manchester City, which Alain took. He side-footed it to his goalkeeper. It was played forward. And now it comes back. Murphy with another attempt to get a first-time ball in. It hits Ake. And Newcastle have their first corner of the night.
Well, he's an interesting player, isn't he, Jacob Murphy? He's super talented. He's got a fantastic attitude to work. And he looks like he enjoys himself. I would just love to see a tiny bit more seriousness in his play, to absolutely dominate that shirt on the right-hand side and start more games because of the quality that he shows and the belief, I think, that he should be here and a starter all the time.
He's keeping Elanga out tonight. Newcastle's first corner, in-swinger. Trafford punches it away. Double-fisted punch clear. Ball breaks outside the penalty area. Miley, the deepest of Newcastle's outfield players, runs round it, gets it away from Doku, who's just given Bruno Guimaraes a shove. The referee didn't agree with that. City are able to bring it away. Eddie Howe not happy. Doku straight through the middle of the ball that really lacked quality. It runs away from Haaland and goes through the Pope, but the boos you can hear for the non-award of a free kick against Doku. Newcastle bring it forward at the other end. Wissa couldn't get it into his stride, and Alain gobbles it up, and now O'Reilly brings it forward.
We'll talk about a different profile of a centre-forward for Newcastle in Wissa. Every single time one of the players gets it, he's looking on the last shoulder to get in behind, use that intelligent movement and the pace that he's got to hurt Manchester City. Voltemade very different, wants the ball to feet, into chest, crosses in.
Trafford, Newcastle pressing every time the ball goes back to him, and he side-footed it out towards the edge of the penalty area. It was a ball that I don't think the City players really wanted on the edge of the box. He played into Foden, who knew the challenge was coming and braced, and wasn't disappointed as he got clattered by Joelinton.
It was a slightly naughty one, wasn't it, from Joelinton? Just missed the ball, albeit, then catches Foden just on the inside of the shin and almost makes a challenge that I think would have been looked at by VAR.
And Stuart Atwell on VAR duty tonight as Alain plays it forward, and it's flicked off Murphy. It's gone out of play for a Manchester City throw. Murphy just pulled up for a moment there. He has been struggling with a hamstring problem that kept him out of the weekend. I think just on a precautionary basis, really, to make sure he's okay for tonight. Looks as though he's all right. Hopefully, from a Newcastle perspective, he's still not moving particularly freely. Two balls on the pitch, or one on the pitch and one in the hands of Ake, who's preparing to launch the match ball on. The superfluous one has been cleared. Now we're back underway. City winning another throw as the Haaland turns it into Miley over on the far touchline. Newcastle aiming for a third League Cup final in the space of 4 seasons. They have won all 3 previous semi-finals in which they played. Beat Arsenal 2-0 in both legs last season. Beat Southampton in both legs in the 22-23 campaign, and then way back in the day, 50 seasons ago, they drew Spurs. They lost at White Hart Lane, came back here and beat them 3-1, made it through to the final, which they lost to Manchester City with that wonderful overhead kick from Dennis Stewart that Adrian was talking about earlier. Not missing anything. Chris Kavanagh's just having a word with a couple of the Manchester City players. It's Nunes that he's speaking to. Bernardo Silva is there as well. Bruno Guimaraes is Newcastle captain, coming in and trying to find out what's being talked about, and eventually play is going to restart with the Manchester City ball 10 yards inside their own half. Still 0-0 here on TalkSport.
Yeah, just a bit of back chat, I think it was, from Teus Nunes, and Chris Kavanagh just bringing Bernardo over as well, just to say, look, we won't be having any of that. But I think City will be delighted with the sort of start that they've had.
Now O'Reilly coming and attacking a loose ball in the midfield, and Joelinton nodded it past him. City, though, with Foden playing that little bit deeper again, has done really well with his quick feet to be able to get it out of the way. Ramsey coming across, covers the runner, Haaland. And it's out for a throw that will be taken on the Manchester City right by Nunes, right in front of us. We've the perfect view, not very high here, and about 3-4 yards inside the half that Newcastle United are defending in the first half. Semenyo playing it forward, Hall heads it away. Here's Joelinton under immediate pressure from both Nunes and Foden. He's done well to turn it away from both of them. O'Reilly comes across and just clips it straight into the crowd and out for a throw that Newcastle will take.
Yeah, let's just have a little mention, shall we, for Nico O'Reilly, by the way. He's played left back, centre back, now holding midfielder. He is a 10, really. He's an attacking player. He's scored goals this season. 20 years old. Started this game impeccably in that position, like he's played it all his life.
OK, pick a number over 70. How many caps is he going to win for England?
91.
Well, it could easily be, couldn't it? I mean, are you sure about not 92? Is he injured for that other one? But he is a player with great pedigree, and what an extraordinary future he's got ahead of him. Very level-headed fellow as well. Just that versatility, a real boon to any England manager. Newcastle getting it forward. Murphy, right-hand side of the penalty area. Kusanov is there. It's come off the Uzbeki, and O'Reilly back to clear again. Hall urged to shoot, and Semenyo did well just to nudge it away from him to stop that happening. City get it upfield. Haaland, with his back to the direction of play, has done well just to protect the ball and guard it down for Doku. Doku turns it back through the midfield for Bernardo Silva. Foden to the aforementioned O'Reilly. O'Reilly calming things down, finds Bernardo Silva, and he'll play it forward towards the halfway line. Manchester City dominating possession, but midway through the first half, as near as makes no difference, it's still 0-0 here on TalkSport. And a reminder that the second semi-final, Chelsea against Arsenal, tomorrow night, first leg at Stamford Bridge. And it's live on TalkSport, and the build-up starting at 7 ahead of an 8 o'clock kickoff. The second leg of both of these games, the first Tuesday and Wednesday of February. And we've got those covered for you as well. Hall dancing around Foden's challenge, caught by Semenyo. Free kick to Newcastle on halfway.
Well, it did feel a little bit like he was stopping a decent attack there. Lucky maybe not to receive a yellow card, Antoine Semenyo, because Hall was away there. And that's what he's going to have to do, actually. Hall, he's going to have to make it difficult for Semenyo in terms of he's going to have to come back and defend against Hall.
And now Foden is being told to retreat. Hall has spotted the ball down, and Foden stood a couple of yards away, and the point that he was making was that the infringement had actually happened on halfway and not when Newcastle had put the ball down. He made his point, but nobody listened. Hall working it forward. And the free kick goes City's way down by their own corner flag after a foul by Gordon. Still 0-0, and surprisingly bereft of chances at the moment.
Yeah, I think clearly again on that far side from us, far side from the dugouts, you've got Doku against Miley, and actually it's been Jacob Murphy who's had the most joy. I think what you find with a young centre-back is Max Allain, he'll think safe. He'll think being close to his centre-back partner Kusanov is the safest option. Might just leave Ake isolated on that side, and a couple of times they've slid the ball down the side of Ake, and Max Allain hasn't come across to cover.
Well, Newcastle's Nick Pope is down injured, receiving a little bit of treatment. It's his right knee that is being attended to. Hopefully this is just a goalkeeper sensing that his side are getting a little bit overrun and going down, so that the manager can have a word with the 10 outfield players and try and redress things. Hopefully it is that rather than something more serious.
Absolutely, but has he even been involved yet? I can't think of too many times that he's been involved, especially in the last couple of minutes. And I can just feel next to me Adrian Durham is questioning it, I think, with the tactical. I mean, all the players coming across, having a nice drink, let's redo our laces. It's definitely not 35 degrees here.
I was doing a game with Sean Derry a few weeks back, the highly respected and experienced coach. He made a really good point, and I've heard it elsewhere since, that under these circumstances, the opposition should be able to nominate one of your outfield players to go off for 30 seconds if your goalkeeper goes down injured. That will put a stop to it overnight. At the moment, it's a loophole, and I would want my goalkeeper to do exactly the same. No doubt about it. It is a loophole. Exploit it, but it needs to be tightened up. Pope's okay by the look of it, I'm glad to be able to say. 25 minutes gone, and it is 0-0. Ball played forward towards Haaland. Chow knocks it away for Newcastle. Murphy in the heart of midfield for a moment. Has just drawn Doku in there with him. Spin it into the vacated area on the Newcastle right. Ramsey plays it back. Miley does so as well. Chow now to Botman and down towards Lewis Hall. And Hall will clear straight into Semenyo. And he goes out of play for a throw. You're with Talk Sport, and a very good afternoon to you as well, right across North America. We're on Sirius XM FC, privileged to share the FA Cup with you over the course of the weekend. And it's the League Cup tonight and tomorrow on Sirius XM FC. Throw to be taken by Lewis Hall in towards Joe Linton. One back though by Nunez. Nunez with not the best ball towards Bernardo Silva. Newcastle can bring it away. Ramsey trying to drive forward, put under pressure by O'Reilly. He's got it wide for Murphy. First time ball in from him. Comes across, Wisser, the angle a little bit tighter than he wanted. And his left-footed effort is even more errant than the initial one. It's gone over the bar. Wouldn't have counted anyway, because the offside flag is now up. Newcastle 0, Manchester City 0. And we're 26 minutes into the first leg of the Carabao Cup semi-final.
Again, it's that same situation for Manchester City. Nathan Ake trying to tuck in that space for Murphy. That same ball in towards Visser. And how interesting, mentality-wise, Visser should really hit that first time, left-footed, trust it. But because of the effort he'd had before that was pretty poor, he chose not to, chose to check back. It's just a little insight into the forward's mindset that we can just lose a tiny bit of confidence just from one act.
He had that early chance for Johan Wisser inside the opening 5 minutes where he blazed it over the bar after a delicious Murphy cross. Remains the best chance that either side have created. In fact, it's the only really noteworthy chance that either side have created. And Manchester City are able to bring it out from the back with Bernardo Silva, and Eddie Howe was furious at how easy that was. Semenyo chasing down the right, and it was a well-timed challenge by Botman to stop him getting any further, and now the ball's gone out of play. Howe is furious, and he's just indicating to the Newcastle players, smacking the fist of his right hand into the palm of his left, that maybe, just maybe, Bernardo Silva should have been stopped physically there from playing out that easily. Joe Linton from a Newcastle throw. Bruno Guimaraes goes back for Chow, getting it away from Haaland to halfway, but it's gobbled up by Ake. And Ake's 8 yards inside Newcastle territories. He just pirouettes and plays it back for Bernardo Silva. O'Reilly back for Alain. Alain in turn goes back for Trafford again, who side foots it parallel to the edge of the penalty area, past Wisser's path to find Alain. They've got real faith in his ability as a ball-playing centre-half. He's not let him down. Ake trying to slide it down the left-hand touchline for Doku. And Newcastle have got it back with Bruno Guimaraes. And a loose ball through the midfield. City seizing upon that. Bernardo Silva got Haaland making a run ahead of him. Couldn't quite play him in. Too many pairs of Newcastle legs to try and thread it through. And Newcastle bring it away, and then Bruno Guimaraes is fouled by O'Reilly.
And again, that's a lucky one, I think, for O'Reilly. It was clever from Guimaraes, just flicking it between the legs of O'Reilly and being clattered body to body. But Bernardo Silva, lovely little breakaway, great idea to try and reverse that pass in towards Haaland and was cut out well by the Newcastle defence. There's not a lot of space and opening, certainly for Manchester City.
I mentioned that Newcastle have won all 3 of their previous League Cup semi-finals. City have won each of their last 6. Their last defeat at this stage of the competition coming against Liverpool back in 2012, when they lost the first leg at home by a goal to nil and drew 2-2 at Anfield and went out 3-2 on aggregate. Since then they've won each of their last 4 ties, albeit that this is their first in 5 years. Last semi-final they played, Manchester Derby, and it was a one-off tie, you might remember, at Manchester United. That was in the COVID-affected seasons. Ball away to our left with Trafford. Bowls it out, and then O'Reilly and Joelinton off the ball, way off the ball. Start a pushing and shoving match, and Núñez gets involved. Then players from both sides wade in. It's very quickly calmed down. I don't know whether something was said there between O'Reilly and Joelinton. The referee has got the yellow card out. Who's he going to brandish it to? I would imagine they're the pair of them. But just all of a sudden it escalated pretty quickly.
I just wonder, Joelinton's trying to say that maybe it was started by just a little pull or a little push. They're grappling. Look, Trafford's looking to try and get it to O'Reilly. Joelinton taps O'Reilly on the back of the head. O'Reilly gives him a little clip, and then they all act as if it's going to be a full-on punch-up, and nothing.
It was never going to be a full-on punch-up, but they had to pretend that the possibility was there, but it never was going to be. Bernardo Silva taking a little bit of time about this free kick and incurring the wrath of the Geordie faithful. Botman heads it away, some 70 yards upfield, out for a throw that Núñez will take. Just retrieve a yellow ball off an orange cone in front of us. Takes the throw. Back for Kusanov. Now Alain to the Manchester City left. Doku turning it back inside his own half here for Ake. Ake to Foden. City 15 yards inside the Newcastle half. It's still 0-0 here on TalkSport. We've got 13 to go to the break. Semenyo back away from Hall. Gordon then chases after Kusanov, and Wissa will do likewise to put the pressure on Alain, but he's not found wanting. He's intelligently turned it forward under pressure, but nerveless pass for O'Reilly. Alain has it again. Núñez turning, trying to get away from Sven Botman. And Núñez can play down towards Semenyo. Semenyo now running at Hall. He's still inside the penalty area, but Botman's recovered his ground and sticks out a right foot to steer it away. Hall under pressure from O'Reilly, turns beautifully to get past him, and then saw the challenge from Bernardo Silva coming, and he's bought the free kick.
Yeah, he did. Bernardo Silva just making that point. Lewis Hall just jumping over the top, but he did well to sort of get out of the tight situation. First time we've seen Semenyo face him up, try to chop inside onto his left foot, and was crowded out. Botman and also Gordon always does his defensive work, doesn't shirk that side of the game.
A free kick to Newcastle. Núñez acted as the ball boy for a moment. He threw it to Foden, who's the nearest player to where the infringement had taken place. Foden didn't see it coming until right the very last minute. Stuck his hands up in front of his face to protect himself and gave Núñez a curious look. I think it was a little misunderstanding. I don't think he knew exactly where it had come from. City will be able to bring the ball forward. Núñez back for O'Reilly. We've got 11.5 to go to half-time. It's 0-0. And have we had a shot on target at either end? I don't think we have so far. But for all of that, highly intriguing. Albeit that the most significant moment of the tie is almost certainly not going to come tonight. Could do, of course. And Silva playing it down the City left where Doku's fouled. The referee says there was no foul, and it's gone out of play for a Newcastle throw. They're taking it quickly. Miley back for Chow to Botman. Hall to his left will just open up his body, let it run across him, and then get it onto his left foot and flick it off Semenyo and out of play. Not too much time left in those EFL trophy matches. They're into the final 15 minutes. Bristol Rovers have equalised at home to Plymouth 3-3. Doncaster and Huddersfield 2-0 up in their respective games. Swindon lead at Luton 2-1. Bolton against Port Vale 0-0. Harrogate have just conceded at Edgeley Park as I speak. Stockport 1, Harrogate 1 there. O'Reilly back for Kusanov. This one is 0-0, 10.5 to go, and a reminder that sitting next in Premier League action in the Manchester Derby, and it is coming your way on TalkSport 12:30 Saturday lunchtime. Hall turns away from Semenya. Guimaraes plays around Bernardo Silva. Here come Newcastle. Ramsey to Murphy, led with the edge of the penalty area, trying to go the long way round. Ake stands it up towards Wissa. But Trafford, a tall goalkeeper, was always the overwhelming favourite to be able to get to that first. He's got to be careful that does he use the full 8 seconds? Or more than the full 8 seconds. That must have been really close. He was looking for options where to bowl it out, and they all seem to be blocked off. Eventually just got it away for conceding a corner. Ramsey winning it back in the heart of the midfield for Newcastle. Goes out towards Jacob Murphy. Murphy towards the edge of the penalty area. Ake's been able to knock it away. Jim Pravin and Dean Ashton talking you through the action on an unseasonably warm Tyneside evening. Newcastle 0, Manchester City 0. Not even coat weather. Hall down towards Gordon. Gordon on the Newcastle left. Plays it back for Botman. Beautiful clear night here. Haven't had the rain that so many other parts of the country have been affected by today. Murphy out on the Newcastle right. Ball work back in field for Bruno Guimaraes. His yellow boots about 10 yards outside the edge of the penalty area. Hall flicking the ball back. It comes off Bernardo Silva, but still mopped up by Chow. Out towards Miley, whose last handful of starts now have been in the right back position. This is the 7th in a row that he started there when he has played. Now Gordon has been brought down by Nunes. That'll be a yellow card. Mistime challenge. It was rash. Gordon passed him in the blink of an eye. First time that he's been direct, trying to go down the outside. Nunes got there very late. Catches him. Gordon staying down, lying on his back at the moment. When Nunes has finished apologising and helping him back to his feet, he will turn and see a yellow card brandished in his direction.
Yeah, well, Matheus Nunes should know that crisp packets in the wind, you can't catch them. You just can't. Gordon's like that. You think you have, and you haven't. You just step out to grab it, and he's not there. It was brilliant from Gordon, because he knew exactly what he was doing, Gordon. He knew his own pace. He knew Nunes was there, and he just waited until that challenge came in, nipped it away, took the challenge, and knew that he would give the fullback a yellow card. Brilliant wing play. So, the white spray down, and it is about 6 yards in from the corner flag. Bruno Guimaraes races his right arm in towards the near post. Poor delivery. He's got a corner out of it, though. Nunes slightly missing his kick. I think his arms were in a natural position, but he came close to kicking it from his right foot up onto his right arm. Has deflected behind. Out for another Newcastle corner. Well, I think it was such a poor delivery. It actually really dipped in towards Nunes as he tried to clear it, but it's a bit of a gift, really, for Newcastle to have a corner kick.
7 to go to the break. It's still 0-0. Can Newcastle have the Knights' first attempt on target? Players run from deep in the far post in. Trafford paddles the corner away. Might break Gordon's way. It didn't quite. His touch is just a bit heavy. And then as it's cleared by City, goes up in the air. Lewis Hall had to play it. It was an awkward touch from him. Well, Newcastle have mopped up ahead of him. And then Hall can calm things down, and Gordon goes back for his goalkeeper. Pope, who's okay after receiving treatment 12 or 13 minutes ago, can get the ball clear. Ake on halfway nods it down. Jolinton side puts it forward. Just a little bit scrappy for a moment, but Newcastle have got their foot on the ball again now and win a throw. 0-0.
It's tighter than I thought from a Newcastle perspective. I think knowing you've got to take a lead realistically, looking at your away form and your home form, and they've not really come out. They've not pressed at all. They've allowed City lots of easy possession and look to counter-attack, which they've got half joy they might hear as well.
He should have done. Wiss has got that pass horribly wrong. As Gordon had made a run down the left-hand side, but he played it at an angle of about 20 degrees and needed to be 60. He's just completely missed them, and it goes through for James Trafford. And the point you're making about the disparity in home form, they've won 9 games this season, Newcastle, in the league. 7 of them have been here. They've taken 23 points here and only 9 away from home. Now, they did win at Arsenal last year, 12 months ago. Having won the first leg here, they then went to Arsenal and won the second. But you can't imagine that Newcastle can afford to lose here and still get to Wembley. From that point of view, they might look at it that their best chance, because they're such a good counter-attacking side, is to just try and draw Manchester City on to an extent. But not to really create anything. What they have been able to do is stop City creating anything at the other end. Hall takes a free kick from halfway. City with a really high defensive line. He's dropped it into the space behind it, straight into Trafford. Trafford then, having caught it, punts it forward immediately. Doku chasing after it towards the edge of the penalty area. Hall has to be assured, and he was. And he turns under pressure and gets rid of the ball. That's obviously something that City have talked about. Try to isolate Doku's pace against the 2 Newcastle centre-halves. The ball is over on the Newcastle right, but not for long. As Miley, having received it, plays it in for Bruno Guimaraes, who's one of 4 in tonight's starting lineup who started at Wembley in the final back in March. Foden's got it now, and he'll drive forward through the heart of the midfield. He's trying to invite the challenge from Hall to nudge it past him. He's laid it back for O'Reilly. O'Reilly to Ake. Foden again. Also like miss kick from LA. Collector's item, but no harm done. He found Kusanov anyway. Down towards Bernardo Silva. Looks as though he's going to try and scoop it in first time. He's elected to lay it back towards Foden, and then Foden turned away and gave Bernardo a right mouthful. I think he felt that it should have been a more progressive pass in that situation. 2 of them just exchanged passes again. They're still having a go at each other. This time Bernardo not happy with Foden's lack of movement to where he wanted him to go. It's a little bit of disharmony amongst the experienced Manchester City players for a moment.
Well, it just shows the lack of intensity, maybe out of possession, and the fact they're sitting deep, Newcastle, that they could have that argument while still in possession, passing the ball to one another.
Semenyo back for Foden again. Foden at his left-hand side for Ake. Clipped inside the penalty area. Haaland is staying on the edge of the box. Botman heads it up in the air with his first touch and then away with his second. Now they'll get Murphy going. And this is where Newcastle do look lively. Getting the ball to Murphy when most of the light blue shirts are upfield. Doku's come back and tackled him on this occasion, doubling up with Ake. City will bring it away. Now Nunes for Foden. Foden to the feet of O'Reilly, straight back again. Foden slowing things down to a walking pace. Back from him to Kusanov, to Elaine. O'Reilly. Back for young Max Elaine again. And Elaine finds his goalkeeper. Elaine making only his 3rd Manchester City appearance today. Scored his first goal for the club in that big win against Exeter on Saturday. Botman cuts out a ball towards Semenyo. And then Hall can bring it forward through the midfield. And he's asked an awful lot of Murphy. Ake had enough of a head start to be able to get there first. Murphy was offside anyway.
Yeah, I mean, to say he's cool in possession is an understatement, Max Elaine, already, considering how inexperienced he is at this level. You know, on the ball he's been terrific. He must have walrus skin like you, Jim.
I think that's a compliment. Here's Semenyo, right-hand side of the penalty area. Chips it in towards the far post, nobody there. Haaland made a darting run to the near. And it's cleared by Miley. Out towards the left-hand side.
He wouldn't have a hat, gloves, double coat on like us 3.
Here's Foden. Down to Semenyo. No, he probably wouldn't. Here's Foden. Continued his run. O'Reilly couldn't play it back to him.
Well, he's getting frustrated, Foden, and I can understand why, because he's not getting any space. He's barely been involved in the game. He's trying hard to get involved with very little communication with the other forwards. Well, I'll tell you what, why not try running beyond Haaland? Again, is that something the manager doesn't want? But Foden is essentially a 10 and he's just got it in the centre-back position. I'd want him, you know, if I'm Haaland, I'm saying, come on, someone run beyond me. Let's try and, you know, pull some of these defenders out of position.
Incidentally, talking of Haaland, in many ways it's a typical Erling Haaland night, in that he's had very few touches, only 7 of them so far in the first 42 minutes of the game. But often when he's at his most dangerous. He did score the first time he played against Newcastle. He's not scored in any of the last 6 against them. Ball inside the penalty area here, and it's cannoned off Hall and goes out for a second Manchester City corner of the night as half-time approaches 0-0.
That frustrates me to watch. It does. Doku does brilliantly well on the outside. Fantastic ball in. Nobody's really reacting. Semenyo needs to get inside Hall's position there. He's probably going to beat him in the air if he does.
So 2 corners apiece with 20 seconds to go to half-time, and Murphy has gone down injured. This is a concern for Newcastle. Remember, he's had this niggling hamstring problem, and the way that he's just pushing his fingers of his left hand into his hamstring here suggests that his race might be run. There's 1 minute of added time at the end of the first 45. We're in it now. It won't start, of course, until Murphy's back on his feet and a play gets back underway with the corner, but the fact that we're so close to half-time at least means that they will be able to give Murphy a proper assessment. But this does not look good for him.
No, I don't think so. I think that was earlier as well, wasn't it? He sort of pulled up slightly. Whether he's been able to coast through it really for the rest of the game, probably in his mind thinking, I don't want to come off. I don't want to be injured again. But not a bad replacement, albeit might not have much to do once he does arrive, Harvey Barnes.
Yeah, he's just getting ready on the Newcastle bench in front of us, actually out of our view. But stripped and ready for action. Murphy, having had his treatment, has got to leave the field. So Newcastle will have to defend this with 10 men unless they make the change immediately. And that is what they're going to do. Murphy, as he departs to an ovation from the Gallowgate, turns and implores his teammates to carry on the job without him. Barnes is on. Rapturous ovation for him after the form that he's been in recently. 4 goals in his last 2 games, a brace against Leeds, a brace against Bournemouth, important late goals in there as well. 8 goals in his last 11 matches here at St James Park. In comes the Manchester City corner, then really deep and headed away by Hall. In that 1 additional minute now, Doku twisting, turning, delivering via a deflection. And out of play for another Manchester City corner. Late in the half, 0-0.
It doesn't matter who it is, whether it's Miley, whether it's Murphy, whether it's Hall that goes over that side. Doku generally has the beating of them. He's been the biggest threat for sure for Manchester City. But incredibly, still not a single shot from Manchester City so far, despite their dominance with the ball.
Yep, 60-40 possession. Not a single attempt, as Dean says. In towards the near post, this corner. And there is a shot on the turn from Ake, which has taken a deflection on its way over the bar. Barely time to take this 3rd corner in quick succession. Haaland waved the foot at that initial ball, which was hitting low towards the near post. Ake on the turn. A shot that was going off target, but helped further clear. So one last chance. Doku takes it in towards the edge of the 6-yard box. Botman missed it. Hall didn't. Back from O'Reilly. Foden. Jolinton heads that away. And then when Hall clears, Chris Kavanagh puts whistle to mouth. It's the end of the first half. Hasn't necessarily transpired as we anticipated. Only 2 attempts between them before the game went into first half stoppage time. No shots on target from Newcastle. They should have scored early on with Wissa. City with plenty of possession. Hardly had an opportunity worthy of the name. And at half-time in this game of 4 halves, it is 0-0.
Well, Dean Ashton, let's start with that miss early on. Had Wissa scored, it becomes a completely different game, doesn't it?
It does, and it was a brilliant chance for him. He did the first part right in terms of that first touch as the ball, brilliant ball it was from Murphy, came across. It was then just no confidence, no belief maybe in that left foot to either hammer that low underneath Trafford or to guide it back from where it came from, and it was a really big chance missed.
Talk to me about Erling Haaland then. Jim mentioned it had 7 touches. He just wafted a foot at a corner that came in and missed it. And if you're Erling Haaland and that's the position you played and you weren't quite as prolific as him, but if you're Erling Haaland going in at half-time, are you annoyed with yourself or your teammates?
I think probably the team and what the lack of creation, I guess, ultimately. And I think probably the thing that would frustrate me the most is lack of movement in around me. And me being Haaland, there's not enough players going beyond him, trying to take one of the centre-backs, or at least take their vision away from Erling Haaland. So if they double up on him, it is going to be hard. As good as he is, still against two physically strong centre-backs is going to be difficult. Now, when the ball has come into him, which a couple of times it has from James Trafford, there's still improvement to be made from his hold-up play. One of the play was brilliant. Took it in, released it off. City were away. It's interesting. One of the best to ever do it, who played here, Alan Shearer, to back in. I watched him so often. He used to back in at the perfect time, bounce his back off the centre-back, and then push forwards, receive the ball, and there was a gap between him and the defender. Haaland's interest. Haaland goes really early to the defender to back in, and it allows sometimes the defender to read it, get their foot around his body and just intercept, which has happened 2 or 3 times.
Good information, that. Good insight. Harvey Barnes, by the way, who came on at the end of the first half, he's back out there doing a half-time warm-up. We shouldn't be surprised by that, should we? That's normal, isn't it?
Yes, yeah, it is. Obviously just come on, and I think because the injury just happened so quickly and he had to come on for the set play, it's not even like he probably had chance to warm up on the sideline. So he'll go through the work that he needs to and be excited to come out and again impact the game in the second half.
Just to go back to whether it's Haaland who should be upset with himself or his teammates for lack of creation. We talked about the lack of creativity from City before the game. I'm wondering if Semenyo's on the correct side. Does he need to be on the other side? But then the flip side of that is that Doku on that left-hand side has actually flashed the ball across goal a couple of times.
He has, yeah, and I think he's on the right side at the moment because he is so two-footed. I think it's his biggest strength that he can go either way, so he can play either side. What's interesting is that there's information coming from the manager. I've seen him a couple of times, little thumbs up for the information that he's been given. He's learning. He's trying to learn very quickly all the tiny details that the manager wants for his movement to work for the way that he sees the team playing, and he just looks like he's got a bit of that in his mind yet without the freedom of his play.
We talked about the wingers that used to play for Manchester City and, you know, the drop in quality, you could argue, that to the wingers of today. But one player who is now missing from Manchester City is Kevin De Bruyne. And I wonder if Phil Foden, at the age of 25, possibly needs to take that on, because we've been talking about, you know, how deep he is, or is he in the right position? Should he go beyond Haaland? Does he not need to be more Kevin De Bruyne, Phil Foden?
Yeah, it feels like he's not put himself in a place where we all look at him like a Kevin De Bruyne, like the man that is going to just unlock a defence. I think he is a different player to Kevin De Bruyne, but he should be having just as big an impact more often than he does. And you can sense he's a bit frustrated. A couple of times he's had a bite back at his teammates because he doesn't feel it's right for him to maybe get the space he needs, and he's got to figure that out himself. He's at an age with the experience that he's had now that he should be able to do that.
Yeah, he's got to be a leader of the team.
Yeah.
Bernardo Silva's experienced as well, and actually I think he has been a leader in this first half, driving City forward. And actually, let's just mention a couple of the City players. I think Nunez, we've seen a lot on this right hand side. He's playing right in front of us. I mean, even under heavy pressure, lots of Newcastle players around him, seems comfortable on the ball. Kusanov, always available, always comfortable. He's way better than I thought he was. And Elaine as well. I mean, he's very calm on the ball. For a 20-year-old who's just been playing in the Championship with Watford, to come in, play a Premier League game, play an FA Cup game, and now play a Carabao Cup semi-final. I mean, I find it extraordinary just how comfortable he is, but this seems to be what happens through the Man City Academy. Like Nico O'Reilly playing different positions, they all seem very comfortable, even when they get in the first team.
Yeah, it's something that's bled all the way down, isn't it, from Pep Guardiola to the academy, in terms of being comfortable on the ball and driving into positions as well. Max Elaine's done that a couple of times. You know, it takes confidence to take the ball and drive into a position and deliver a pass. And it was interesting, if people haven't heard it, the comments that Pep Guardiola said after the Exeter game about young players having that experience against men. And and he's got the quality. You can see that he's yet to be really tested, isn't he, by Newcastle?
Yeah, it felt to me like he wanted Premier League B teams in Leagues 1 and 2, and I'm not having that, mate. No chance
That's
whatsoever.
exactly what he was saying.
I am not. Listen, our football in this country is far different to what it is in Spain, and yeah, if you want to rip it up and go the Pep way doing that, then I understand why you'd want to do that, but it's disrespectful to the traditions and history of our football.
Yeah, there was nothing wrong with the Reserve League. Absolutely nothing wrong with it.
Spot on as well. And they do get a bit of men's football in the EFL Trophy, the under-21s, so there's a little bit of that there. I get the point he's making, but I'm not having it whatsoever. They've got work to do, Newcastle, because away from home you wouldn't fancy them in the second leg. They should be one up, but they're not. Newcastle 0, Manchester City 0, half-time on TalkSport.
Kick-off on TalkSport with Ladbrokes. 18+ gambleaware.org.
The UK's biggest used car sale is on right now at Arnold Clark, with over 20,000 used cars, all reduced. From Kia to Vauxhall, MG to Mazda, and everything in between. Whatever car you're looking for, you'll find a bargain at the real sale. It only happens once a year, and it's on right now. Visit arnoldclark.com to see why it's the biggest used car sale in the UK.
Hear that? It's your Big McDonald's hunger calling, because the Big Arch is back, and this time it's here to stay, with juicy beef, cheddar cheese, and that Big Arch sauce. Hungry? You are now. Order delivery on the McDonald's app. Serve from 11 a.m. Upcharges and fees apply to delivery orders. Subject to availability, price and participation may vary.
Aldi can't save you from that 6 a.m. boot camp.
Drop and give me 50!
But they can save you a healthy amount on this Greek yoghurt. High Total Greek Yoghurt is $3.75 at Tesco, but Aldi's is just $1.99. Aldi, always finding ways to save.
Love sports? So do we! At Sporting Life, we give you access to premium sports betting insights, and it's all completely free. Whether it's the thrill of the race or the excitement of the big match, we're here because every moment matters. Join Sporting Life today to enhance your betting experience with in-depth analysis, exclusive content, and the latest form and stats. When it comes to sports, we're on your side. Search Sporting Life.
What makes a good bet? At Virgin Bet, we think it's a simple bet, a responsible bet, a last-minute winner when you're down to 10 men kind of bet, with generous offers. A bet that puts sport first. Sound like your kind of bet? Then you're ready to get started. Sign up and new members get £30 in free sports bets when you bet £10. Virgin Bet. A good bet. £10 sports bet settled in first 14 days. 1.5 minimum odds. Free bets valid 7 days. T's and C's and deposit exclusions apply. Bet responsibly. 18+. Gambleaware.org.
90 minutes. 2 teams. 1 game-changing player.
Absolutely magnificent.
The Here For It hero on TalkSport with Enterprise Rent-A-Car.
An electrifying goal!
From tactics to teamwork, stamina to skill, which Premier League player will go above and beyond and really show up this weekend?
Oh my goodness!
Get on-the-ball analysis, predictions and opinion from the undisputed football experts. The Here For It hero on TalkSport with Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Whatever it is, we're here for it.
More fun than paying your gas bill. Kick-off live on TalkSport.
Got Rooney free in the centre if he wants to use him. He goes for goal himself. And Michael Carrick scores his first goal in 70 games for Manchester United.
The perfect start for Michael Carrick. Who knows? Even if he only gets 1 game, it's a pretty vital one.
That's what football's all about, the entertainment and playing for this club and creating that in this stadium.
He goes leaving with his head held high as well. I mean, I think it'd be a huge miss.
Ruben Amorim has been sacked as head coach at Manchester United.
It's just to stabilise everything until the end of the season, to get the team back into the European football.
Leadership, direction, it's not there at this moment in time. You can't replace an interim manager with another interim manager with you to get a full-time manager in 4 or 5 months.
And United now have gone out at the first time of asking in both the League and the FA Cup.
Perfect for what they need right now. The next sort of 4 months of the season will tell us all we need to know. But for now, he's just nice and calm, Michael is.
I would have put someone like Roy Keane in and shake it up. It needs a bit of livening up in there because there's too much going on behind the scenes and too many people getting away with doing too little.
It is now official. In the last few minutes, Manchester United have
released a statement saying they're delighted to announce the appointment of Michael Carrick as head coach of the men's first team until the end of the 25-26 season.
Is Simon Jordan mad? Roy Keane? Has he seen Saipan? It would be absolutely like the Wild West. Extraordinary suggestion. Manchester derby at Old Trafford, Saturday lunchtime, live and exclusive on Talk Sports. You can join us from 11 a.m. for all the build-up, and Michael Carrick will be in charge. Won the lot as a player with Manchester United, won't be winning anything this season as interim. Worked with him at Borough, he'll be on the staff as well, so will from that. And 2 Youth Cup with Kobbie Mainoo in midfield a few years ago. Garnacho was in that team as well, and Johnny Evans staying on as well. And TalkSport believes that Darren Fletcher chose not to stay on the staff, so he reverts to his old role. Carrick in charge, Manchester derby, live and exclusive on TalkSport, Saturday 11 a.m. here at St James Park. It's Newcastle 0, Man City 0. Let's get the half-time odds with Ladbrokes.
Odds update on Talk Sport with Ladbrokes. Get a free bet every week of the season and a big boost every day. That's Ladisfaction. Minimum £5 bet. Conditions apply. 18 plus gambleaware.org.
So at half-time, goalless. Newcastle are 15-8 to win the match. City are 9-5. The draw is 8-5. Erling Haaland's score first was 4-1. Now 5-1. It's the latest odds with Ladbrokes. 18 plus gambleaware.org.
Odds update on Talk Sport with Ladbrokes. Get a free bet every week of the season and a big boost every day. That's Ladisfaction. Minimum £5 bet. Conditions apply. 18 plus gambleaware.org.
So this is the first semi-final first leg. The second one between Chelsea and Arsenal is live on TalkSport tomorrow night at Stamford Bridge at 8. The Gunners looking to take one step closer to winning their first trophy for almost 6 years. Mikel Arteta feels that winning games like this can bring further success.
Well, the more you are involved in these kind of games, the better, because it gives you a nudge. It brings the team a different kind of energy, and it gives you the sense that the objective is very, very close, and that's a massive motivation for everybody. So we know that we are 2 games away from playing a final. We have to go game by game, and the first one is Stamford Bridge, and we know we have a really tough opponent in front.
First trophy for almost 6 years, Mikel Arteta at the helm, and who knows how many trophies they could win this season. If they do win multiple, then the Carabao Cup could well be the first. It's Chelsea against Arsenal live on TalkSport tomorrow. Kick-off at 8, 7 p.m. the build-up with Natalie Sawyer at Stamford Bridge on TalkSport. And Liam Rosenior, an interesting one. You know that managers come in at Chelsea and all of a sudden they win something. It's happened before, and one wonders if it will happen with Liam Rosenior. But I want to get Dean Ashton's view on a quote from Liam Rosenior that I picked up on in his press conference when he got the job. He was talking about how good the squad at Chelsea is, talked about, you know, they're limitless in what they can achieve. And then he said, I'm not going to limit their limitlessness. So what does that mean? Is it even possible to limit limitlessness?
It's got me, that's for sure. And I think he even bamboozled it himself in a way. Look, I thought a few of his comments were excellent. I like the way he tried to back himself, because he knows that people will be writing him off before he's even started. So for me, I thought he took the right approach, and he's basically saying that, you know, there is a squad that has got a lot of improvement. There's players there that can massively improve still, and that he's going to be the man to do it.
Well, he does back himself. He's confident. There's no question about that. Can he get the job done? Where so many other Chelsea managers, you say, have failed, but they all seem to win trophies and get the sack. And there you go. Players are back out here for the second half as we await goals. It's Newcastle 0, Manchester City 0, and we've got the second half live here on TalkSport with the former England striker Dean Ashton, alongside your commentator Jim Proudfoot.
And there are no further changes. Remember, Newcastle took Murphy off because of a hamstring problem right at the end of the first half, replacing with Barnes. And we're back underway. Newcastle black and white striped shirts, kicking from left to right, as they love to do in the second half, down the hill towards the Gallagher. And the ball out of play for an early throw. They've got Pope in goal, Miley Chow, Botman and Hall, Ramsey, Guimaraes and Joelinton, Barnes, Wissa and Gordon. City, Trafford in goal. Nunes, Kusanov, Alain and Ake. Bernardo Silva and O'Reilly. Doku, Foden, Semenyo and Haaland. It's the two number 9s that have struggled really to have too much of an influence because of a lack of service, although Haaland drops deep and does really well to play it on towards Foden, who just had half a yard there on Bruno Guimaraes, who brought him down. Erling Haaland not happy that Chris Kavanagh's not producing a yellow card for that. It is going to be a free kick to City, left of centre, about 12 yards outside the penalty area. Dean Ashley.
He's let a lot go, Chris Kavanagh. I think that's clearly been in his mind so far. But Foden just got the other side of Guimaraes for only probably the second time, clattered by Guimaraes into the Achilles. Phil Foden now saying, well, where was the yellow card? But it is a good position for City.
Not really a shooting position, although there is a one-man wall, or one man standing where the wall would be, a brick, if you like, Ramsey. But it's a long, long way out. Foden just works it short for Bernardo Silva. No thought of clipping it in. Instead, they're going to work it towards Doku. He now will get it inside the penalty area where it's headed away by Miley. It'll break out towards Kusanov. Slightly misjudged his header. Went more up than he intended, rather than powering towards the edge of the Newcastle United box. And Semenyo battling with Hall wins a throw, which will be taken over on the Manchester City right. City, 9 wins in the last 12 games, and they've averaged 3 goals a game in the process, albeit that 10 over the space of 90 minutes helps. Here's Doku. A couple of yards in for the left-hand touchline. He fires it away from Barnes to find Ake. Now Foden. Max Alain coming onto it. Takes a touch, works it out towards Semenyo. Semenyo controls it. Quickly looks around, sees who's where, finds O'Reilly. O'Reilly back for Ake and down towards O'Reilly again. Alain forced back and deeper still and goes back to his goalkeeper Trafford. Wissa chases. Trafford just chips it beautifully over the first 4 Newcastle players to find Bernardo Silva. Now he goes out towards Semenyo. Haaland making his way forward, but Silva's in there. Foden as well. Nunes has made a run towards the penalty spot. Ball goes back for O'Reilly. Foden drops deep. Plays it out to the City left-hand side for Doku. Both sides still waiting to break the deadlock. Doku to Nathan Ake. Ball in from him, and it's very nearly an own goal as it hit Anthony Gordon and ricocheted not a huge amount of power down towards the bottom right-hand corner. And Pope was very grateful that he could pounce on that, diving away to his left.
Yeah, it was a decent little clip, wasn't it, in from Nathan Ake. I think it was Mateus Nunes who was the furthest forward, who fell on the floor with Thiaw. And it hit the inside of Gordon's thigh, knew nothing about it. I think Pope had to get down to his left.
Chow under pressure here from Haaland, and telling pressure. He's put the ball straight out of play under duress for a throw to Manchester City, about 15 yards from the corner flag. Still haven't had a shot on target. It's only the second time all season that they failed to register a shot on target in the first half. Producer Declan McCarthy tells me. Here's O'Reilly. Gets it down towards Kusanov. And played back in field again by Semenyo, who has played exclusively on the right so far with Doku on the left. There's been no thought of them switching within play. Miley gets it back to his goalkeeper. Pope's clearance. Guimaraes with a little bit of improvisation. Joelinton didn't know Nunes was coming. Nunes barreled into him, and play goes on. Newcastle have it with Gordon, making progress down the far touchline. The Newcastle left. Ball swept in. Wissa with a looping header. Palmed away by Trafford, who nearly got a face full of posts in the process. It was a looping header. Not a huge amount of power, very accurate, he got it away. Then another effort comes in, that's smacked back off the upright. City clear, straight into the nearest Newcastle player. And it bounces back off Ramsey, and Trafford's able to pick it up. Better for Newcastle, twice close to scoring.
Yeah, so close. Wissa might have been offside, but he tried to guide the header. Brilliant from Trafford on the back foot to claw it away. as it just about touched the crossbar as well, and then when it got recycled back out to Guimaraes, looked as if he was going to go far post, and then just whipped it into that near post. I think Trafford had it covered, but it still bounced back off the post.
So Newcastle creating a good opportunity at the beginning of the first half, a couple at the beginning of this second, still can't find a way through. Play stops again. Ramsey's gone down holding his head. Just for a moment on halfway, he standed and perhaps looked a little bit discombobulated, and then has gone down with his right hand cupped around his right ear. And just got a bang to the head from Doku as the pair of them went for a ball on the touchline. And they've just got to go through all the protocol to make sure he is okay here, Jacob Ramsey.
Yeah, he slid in brilliantly actually on Jeremy Doku. Did Ramsey, but as he did, Doku just braced himself, and it was his elbow that caught around the temple of Jacob Ramsey. Just took a bit of a delay really in feeling that, but he didn't look particularly comfortable as he went to the floor.
Dean, we talked about Newcastle's need to win this first leg, you and I both believe. So at what stage does Eddie Howe decide that he's really got to twist rather than stick, and he's got to be more proactive and potentially play into City's hands?
Well, I think you saw the attitude in the first half. There was no risk taken whatsoever. It was a case of we're going to sit, we're going to deny, and we're going to counter-attack, and if we get something great, if not, it's fine with us. I think this second half from now on, from the half-time whistle onwards, there needs to be a better intensity. This is the place where they can try and overwhelm Manchester City with the momentum and the tempo and the urgency that can really lift this place.
Ramsey still being checked out by the Newcastle medical staff. I think they're happy, and the officials are happy that he's all right. He's going to be able to continue, which is good to see. Play resumes with City in possession. Silva finding O'Reilly. And we're 7.5 minutes into the second half, still goalless. Newcastle have had a couple of opportunities in this second period already. They've hit the post with Guimaraes, whistle denied by the goalkeeper. Doku getting it in here, and it's slipped through the penalty area. It's Semenyo. He's done it again. 2 in 2 for the £65 million signing. A quiet-ish night by his standards, but he's made the run from the far post. Doku's ball in, took a deflection. Semenyo there to finish it off. First blood to Manchester City.
Well, City are old, isn't it? In the way they crafted this opportunity. Doku it was, just stands up Harvey Barnes. Doesn't do the defensive work good enough. Too easy for Doku. And it's Bernardo Silva that gets beyond Haaland. So important that one of those midfield players gets beyond. He's free, slides in, gets a touch. And Semenyo finally makes that run inside the defender at the back post. And then it's easy. You just tap it in at the back post.
Doku with the ball in, and the deflection on its way through of Bernardo Silva, all important. But Semenyo busting a gut to get there, and he just stole a march on Gordon. Antoine Semenyo is fast becoming a firm favourite amongst the Manchester City supporters. His 12th goal of the season, 2 in 2 for Manchester City, and they lead by a goal to nil in the away leg, and now there is some proper work for Newcastle United to do.
Yeah, there is, and because they've been passive, eventually it felt like Doku on this side was going to get free enough to create something significant. And again, it wasn't anything clever from Semenyo. It was just a darting run, a gamble into a space, hoping that it lands, and it was the deflection, as you said, that took it right to him. But you have to be there.
Hall goes back for his goalkeeper. Different dynamic about it now. Pope getting it forward upfield. City with such a good record this season when they have scored first. 19 out of 24 this season. Newcastle, for their part, although they tend to score first in games, have only taken a positive result twice when they've been able to find a way back in this League Cup semi-final. Big advantage Manchester City. Antoine Semenyo with the goal. Foden from the edge of the centre circle. Swept forward again by Elaine, but straight into the chest of Lewis Hall. And the England left back brings it forward. Finds Anthony Finds Anthony Gordon. Guimaraes making a run ahead of him. Hall's continued his run. Gordon. Guimaraes making a run ahead of him. Hall's continued his run. So too Whistle, although he was about 8 yards offside as Newcastle looked to play the ball forward. Wanted it to be played instantly. It wasn't. Miley can bring it forward now for the Geordies on the right-hand touchline. Trailing here by a goal to nil. Remember, unbeaten at home in 13 since a defeat to Arsenal back in late September. But trailing here tonight. Chow. Botman for Hall. And that's the Manchester City supporters you can hear high at the Leazes End away to our left. Absolutely delighted. They have adopted the Bournemouth Semenyo song as well to serenade their latest acquisition. Gordon coming in off the Newcastle left. It's a better ball. Wissa making a run. He's going to be able to get there first. Joelinton takes over. His shot is blocked. Comes back out on the edge of the area. Bruno Guimaraes through a crowd. Comfortably saved though by Trafford. And it's 1-0 to Manchester City here on TalkSport.
Well, it eventually sat nicely for Bruno Guimaraes on the edge of the area. Had to wait till the timing was right for the half volley. Struck it well, straight, but low and into the arms of James Trafford. I'm just thinking about, what could change here for Newcastle. Well, Anthony Gordon, your fullback is on a yellow card. Demand the ball constantly, get at him constantly. Just feel as if it's a test as he goes now.
And he's taking on Nunez, the Manchester City player involved. He won that, got it back. Oh, to Trafford. Trafford works it out to Bernardo Silva. Must have thought he was under pressure. He's whacked that, and he's come close to putting it in the top right-hand corner. Yeah. He's trying to spear it across towards the lane, got it horribly wrong and got away with it.
This would have been a comical shin pad into the top corner type goal, as he just, like you said, just tried to whip it across to Max Lane. Caught it horribly.
Just for a moment as the ball left his foot there. His heart was in his mouth. Corner to Newcastle. First on either side of one in this second half. Newcastle, remember, hit the post not long before City scored. In comes the corner. Trafford's missed it, far post. Real appeals from the Newcastle fans. Corner given.
Well, I think this is a big chance for Sven Botman, because Trafford gets trapped in there. Too many bodies in the way. He tries to stick an arm in it. He misses it. Botman's up there. Is he up too early? Possibly. I think he heads it into a City defender rather than into the back of the net.
You possibly hit the back of the goalkeeper on its way down. In comes the resulting corner. Trafford's dealt with that one much more effectively, punching it clear from Wissa. Now Doku getting there, trying to take on Hall. Good defending from the young Hampshire-born defender. And it's out of play for a throw, which will be taken on the Newcastle United right. You would talk sport, and if you're listening in North America, you would Sirius XM FC. Very good afternoon to you, whether you're West Coast or East. Newcastle United trailing Manchester City here to a goal from Semenyo. City are going to be making a triple change very shortly. Miley pushing forward from right back is under pressure from Nathan Ake. Ake's stood his ground well. Doku able to bring it away. Doku trying to get past Ramsey, which he couldn't get past the second challenge which came in, but then it was flicked beautifully through the midfield back towards Jeremy Doku. There was excellent ball retention from City, who are going to be bringing Reinders, Rodri and Lewis on. They come forward here with Nunez, finding Haaland, edge of the penalty area, sets up Foden, ricochets back off a Newcastle player. Haaland trying to get in there again. Chow made sure that he couldn't. Out of play from Manchester City corner. They lead 1-0.
It's opening up. It's becoming slightly chaotic, as I thought it would in the first half. It's starting to, because Newcastle have got to try and risk a few more players forward. It was lovely from Nunez to get on the half turn, swivel away and find Haaland. Possibly could have let it run to his back foot and take a strike. He was unselfish to Foden, whose shot was blocked.
So here come the changes. O'Reilly is the first player to come off. He's going to be replaced by Rodri. And then Tijani Reinders will be the next man on. Mateus Nunes, you would imagine that there's every chance Lewis waiting, the fourth official, Matt Donoghue, about to put the numbers board up. Is it going to be 27? Yes, it is. So 27 off, 82 on. Lewis for Nunes, Rodri for O'Reilly, Reinders for Foden.
Nice to have those options, isn't it? With players on yellow cards to bring on Rodri, Reinders and Lewis. And I think he'll feel there's a great opportunity here to take what they've got, if not more, back to the Etihad.
Big embraces for all three players, given the hook by Pep Guardiola as they came off. 2 minutes past the hour mark. 1-0 to Manchester City, looking for a second. They might just have it. They have. It's him again. Antoine Semenyo walking onto the corner, bundling it home. Newcastle 0, Manchester City 2. A new City hero is born, and Newcastle's defence of the League Cup is in tatters.
Well, it's a stunning finish from a man banging form, moving in January, confidence brimming from Antoine Semenyo, and you can see it in the finish. It's a great delivery from the corner. He just peels from the goalkeeper, and then it's just a wonderful, is it a back heel or a back thigh? It's just improvisation from Semenyo. Back to goal, just flicks it goalwards, uses the pace of the cross with the outside of his knee. That's what instinct is.
A man right on top of his game. What a story it has been from Antoine Semenyo. Beginning of his career, loan spells at Bath and Newport, and now with goals that seemingly are going to be propelling Manchester City through to the final of the Carabao Cup. This one hasn't been ratified by the VAR as yet. They're checking a possible offside, not against Semenyo, but when he flicked it, was there a City player? And it would be Haaland, who was right in front of the goalkeeper in an offside position.
Well, it all depends where his feet are, I guess. He is basically in a waltz position with Malik Thiaw next to Pope. They've got no interest, either of them, in the ball. It's just whether Haaland's arm that's cradled beautifully behind the back of Thiaw, whether that is what they're classing as offside, or the back of his heel. I mean, look, it's going to be mightily close.
They're all in a line, the three. Now, if Nick Pope is the furthest forward of those three, then obviously he's the man that has played him offside. What they have to look, and it is horrendously close, and my gut feeling, looking at the still we got on a screen now, is that this might be disallowed, actually, is that Haaland has got to be the furthest back of those three players. And I don't think he's the most advanced, but I don't think he's the furthest back. I think Nick Pope has actually played him offside, unintentionally, as he's come to meet the ball. But when Semenyo makes the contact, I think Haaland's in an offside position. He's only in an offside position if he's then deemed to be interfering with play. But he's so close to the goalkeeper, he probably has to be. I think this could get chalked off. They're going to have to get the 3D lines out and more. It's extraordinarily close. But I think it's probably offside, looking at the still frame that we're looking at now without any lines on it.
Again, we've got that still from a certain angle. You don't know, Nick Pope's backside is probably the position that they're taking off, and then it's Malik Thiaw's heel, Haaland's calf, I think. It's a difficult one, but it basically grazes Haaland. It doesn't quite touch him, but it goes right past him into the goal.
Well, you can tell how close it is by how long it is taking the fourth official, the VAR, Stuart Atwell, and all the officials at Stockley Park to be able to make this decision. And it's another one of those incidents. Offside is offside. But the offside law wasn't designed to prevent goals in situations like this. For it to be as close and fractional as that. That's not why the law is there. The officials, in fairness, can only implement the laws that exist. They are doing that. They have to make sure they got this decision right. It's hugely frustrating for everybody in here, but they've got to make sure that they do it right. And if that means taking an extra minute or so, then they've got to do it. Now, I think the decision has been made, and Chris Kavanagh has been called over to the monitor. So my understanding is that Haaland's trailing foot is fractionally offside. But Kavanagh has been called over to the monitor. That is a factual decision. He's been called over because he now has to assess whether Haaland is interfering with it. And that's where his decision comes into play. So geographically, he is offside. That is matter of fact. The referee has been called over to have a look at the monitor so that he can assess whether he is interfering with play. Semenyo has flicked it for reference to the left-hand side of all three of those players that we were talking about who were in a line. I don't think Pope can possibly say that. He's going the wrong way. Chris Kavanagh's had a look. Let's hear what he's going to say as he tells St James's Park what his decision is.
After review, Manchester City, number 9, is in an offside position.
Erling Haaland offside. Manchester City absolutely incensed. They've seen the same replays, and clearly they feel the way that Nick Pope is going to his right and the ball has impact on Botman playing the ball. Maybe that is the decision. Newcastle making changes. Wissa off to disappointing night. Voltemada and Anthony Elanga will replace Anthony Gordon. Triple change for Newcastle midway through the second.
As the atmosphere was sapped by that second Semenyo goal. But again, by the laws of the game, Haaland is interfering because he's stopping Malik Thiaw. You know, he possibly could stick a leg out. He can't because Haaland's there. Pope's having to get into a position because he's getting around Thiaw and Haaland. So it does him.
That was much more cut and dried case. And then Bernardo Silva just had a cheeky little swipe it in, and Joelinton understandably took exception, and now he is having to be calmed down. It's a free kick to Manchester City. Rodri asking for clarification about exactly where it's got to be taken from. It's got to be taken from right in front of where the assistant referee's got his flag out. Here's Rodri. Plays it out towards the right. It's an aerial back pass. Out comes Trafford. Dealt with that really well. Kusanov played it back to him. It was a horror. And he's volleyed it away. Out for a throw. Fires a left-footed volley. They're having to try and turn the screw.
And the supporters recognise it. You can feel it inside St James's Park. They know there was that let-off. Now's an opportunity. That was as well for Tonali. It sat beautifully for him. Left foot. Steered it into the ground. Zipped along, but it was soft target. Should have done better.
20 minutes to go here on Talk Sport. I reckon that delay was somewhere between. Here's Haaland coming forward now. Reinders to his right-hand side for City. He unleashes it, hits Hall, goes out of play for a throw. Much more open now. Both sides will have more opportunities as a byproduct of Newcastle chasing the game. And there's still an angry reaction going on between the two benches. Pep has just put his hand to his head as if to say, phone me, to somebody in the Newcastle bench. Ball in from Semenyo, knocked away by Botman. And Hall will try and get it away. Rodri, down for Ake. On the Manchester City left is Doku. An opportunity for him to try and run at Miley. 71 on the clock. 1-0 Manchester. Good save. Ball inside the penalty area. Joelinton knocks it away. Guimaraes hit the post as well early in the second half for Newcastle. There's a push there by Barnes. Easily spotted by Chris Kavanagh. Free kick to City, 20 yards outside the Newcastle penalty area. Maybe a little bit closer than that. Oh, there's an edge to it now, Dean.
Well, there is, because I think we all could recognise what that second goal meant. It almost felt as if that was it when City got that second goal. I'm not sure quite what the response would have been, and they look comfortable and confident, and it has just switched. It's changed the feeling inside here.
Bernardo Silva was decidedly reluctant to pick up a loose ball. It is a free kick to City. The ball had ended up midway inside the other half of the field. Silva didn't want to be the one that went back to retrieve it. That was just in an attempt to try and manage the situation. Semenyo. Silva. He's left his foot in again, and the yellow card that he receives has been in the post for a while. Bernardo Silva caution.
Yeah, I think that's the one thing we can all see with Bernardo Silva. I'm sure he would even admit it himself. He doesn't quite have that half a yard anymore. He's still got the quality on the ball, but players just have the edge in terms of speed at times and strength, and he finds himself in the book because of it.
17 minutes to go in this first leg. First leg of the other semi-finals coming your way tomorrow. It's Chelsea-Arsenal here on Talk Sport and across North America on Sirius XM FC. The ball cleared by Nick Pope towards the edge of the Manchester City penalty area. Haaland back defending, was beaten by Chow. Voltemada's kept it in. Alanga, one of the other subs, has hooked his right foot around it. Ake head. And just a rush of blood to the head there from Erling Haaland. It's a free kick to Newcastle in a wide position. Midway between the right-hand edge of the penalty area and the right-hand touchline, and Hall's going to come across to take it.
Yeah, again, it's just that added pressure, isn't it now? That intensity that I thought Newcastle would bring at the start.
So Hall and Elanga, the two Newcastle players who stand over this. Elanga's made his way away, but is still in a position to receive a shot. Does fire it in, though, really the Manchester City right by Semenyo, but it's gone straight out of play. Ryan Cherky's been called back, and reckon at least 7. So effectively we're only midway through the second half. Bernardo Silva's really warmed up now, though. Joelinton coming back. He's put under pressure by Reinders. He's managed to stay on his feet and keep possession. The ball on to Elanga on the right-hand side. He's on, and he's hit a perfect one that Elanga can control and drag it back in field past Nathan Ake. And to his left-hand side. Geordie's left. Tonali takes it quickly. Goes back to halfway for Botman. Forward for Sandro Tonali again, and the Italian turns and plays it forward for Hall. Miley in a good position on the right. Worked it down the inside left channel instead for Elanga. Offside flag up against him. Trafford's got the ball, and City are allowed to play the left-hand touchline. Looks as though it overrun it, then gets past Voltemada and Bruno Guimaraes. The latter brings him down, and he will become the 5th player.
Effectively 15 yards away from the touchline. To watch that footwork in close quarters, he's got no right to get away from Voltemada. It's like a bullet dodger. Doku, Guimaraes just comes across and catches him on the calf. Brilliant to watch that for his last act.
Yeah, maybe a surprise.
Yeah,
that he's the man that is coming off here. Cherky coming on.
Very much so. I think with Bernardo Silva on that yellow card, I thought it would automatically be him that came off. So Cherky will go out to that right-hand side, and Semenyo will come over to this left-hand side with his versatility.
They've still got one substitution left at their disposal, City, with Aït-Nouri, McAdoo, Gray and Macassar, the players that could come on. So still a couple of attacking options on the bench, a couple of defenders as well. No, a defender and a midfielder, should I say. Lewis coming forward for Manchester City. Over on the far touchline, they lead 1-0. They were 2-0 up, if you're just joining us. Semenyo getting the ball in the net for a double for him, but it was ruled out after a 6-minute check for offside. Bernardo Silva coming forward, hooking it on. It's off Tonali. He's got to play it down by his own dead ball line. Does so, gets away from Semenyo, but he loses possession. And then Tonali comes back and gives Bernardo Silva a little shove. And just for a moment, it looked as though there might be a flashpoint. And they looked at each other and then patted each other on the back on the way past and got on with their jobs. 12 to go.
Poor ball from Botman.
And it's cut out by Bernardo Silva coming onto it. He's got to Cherky ahead of him. Right-footed effort from Bernardo Silva. Block back to him inside the penalty area still. Cherky will play it away. Left-footed ball clipped in by Silva, far too deep. And Elanga will be able to run around that and bring it away. Don't forget City back in action at the weekend in the Manchester derby against Michael Carrick's Manchester United after his appointment as interim manager for the remaining 17 games of their season. Carrick had a winning record in Manchester derbies as a player. Will he get off to a winning start? It's a 12:30 kickoff Saturday lunchtime build-up from 11 on Talk Sport. Away to our left, Nick Pope taking a long clearance, goal kick. Voltemada comes to meet it, flicks it on. Returned with a little bit of interest by Elaine. And he's whacked it straight out of play. Throw that will be taken by Newcastle, level with the edge of their own box. Well, 1-0 to City, if it ends this way, is a massive step as far as they're concerned to getting to their first final for 5 years.
Yeah, it'd be an incredible result, really. When you thought what might happen in this game and Newcastle's home record. But City have changed as well over the last season and a half now in terms of they're not top of the average possession in the Premier League, not even second. They do sit off at times now once they get a lead or in certain parts of the game. That's the slight change.
Reinders to Rodri, to Cherki, back for Rodri again. Well, you've got players like those two that you can bring off the bench, and just shows what a healthy position you're in. Rodri goes back here for Ryan Cherki, who's had more assists than anybody else for Manchester City this season, 9 in total in League and Cup. Kusanov plays out towards Rico Lewis, back for Kusanov again, and turning back inside his own penalty area for Trafford. Pep not happy, hands outstretched in front of us, but City have still got it, and Elaine bringing it forward, driving through the midfield. He's done really well, feeds Haaland to Rodri. Reinders protecting the ball, looked as though Bruno Guimaraes might rob him, he didn't. And Manchester Silva now inside the Newcastle penalty area. Reinders trying to get on the end of Cherki's flick on the turn, he couldn't quite. Up. Here's Rico Lewis towards the edge of the play, away by Trafford, and then Miley.
Wasn't it, Cherki? What he's so good at is he just looks like he's dribbling and then he can just get a snapshot away, as he did with his right foot, and Pope went with his feet, which I think with the deflection was the right decision, but it came off the bottom of his heel and way to safety.
Foot behind his right leg to safety. There's like a batsman with the old Chinese cut, flicking it between his legs and his stumps for 4. He got away with it. 8.5 minutes. One back by Elaine. Just goes all the way through for Nick Pope again. Pope coming out of his penalty area. Side foots it forward. Here's Botman to Tonali. 1-0 to Manchester City. So much to react to on the sports bar tonight. And not just the appointment of Michael Carrick as Manchester United manager, but everything that has happened here. Now it's Jason Cundy and Darren Ambrose taking your calls on 0371722 3344. The lines will be open very shortly. Now Lewis Hall and Rico Lewis getting involved in a little bit of pushing and shoving. It is a Manchester City throw that has been given. The angry reaction from Lewis was that he appreciated that was the case and Hall didn't, and he wanted to restart play. But the hiatus has allowed City to run a few more seconds off the clock, and the Newcastle fans over on the far touchline are just making that point known. Still, he hasn't taken the throw yet, Lewis. Now he does, but he just tested the patience of the referee too much, and he's booked him for delaying the restart.
Well, he did make the point, Chris Kavanagh. And the more and more Newcastle fans that stood up behind Rico Lewis eventually made up the referee's mind, I think.
It's 4 City players in the book, 2 for Newcastle. 1-0 Manchester City lead with nearly got Elanga in, but it was expertly read by Elaine. And again, calm under pressure. Does like to stride forward from the back. And he's clipped one down here for Nathan Ake. He's unlucky that the ball